name is Dr. Li Mengyan. She is a freedom fighter, I would say, from China, very courageous woman, a virologist by training who formerly worked at the University of Hong Kong and did some research in the research lab at the World Health Organization there as well, in the course of which she began doing her own independent investigation of what was going on with this so-called COVID-19 virus. Her findings, both there in China and after she fled her homeland to come to the United States, are riveting and very much necessary for us to understand some of both the challenges as well as the opportunities, perhaps, that we will be facing in 2022. Dr. Yan, it is great to have you back with us. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Gaffney, and Happy New Year. Thank you for having me again.
We're anxious to get your thoughts on what I consider to be sort of three categories based on your research and analysis of the, I think, better described Chinese Communist Party virus. What do we actually know for sure about it? Point one. Point two, what do we believe with sufficient evidence we might be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, to use the legal expression here? And thirdly, what does your gut instinct tell you about what has been going on here? Let's start with the origins of this disease. We've been told by the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Institute of Health director that we just can't figure it out. Was it natural or was it caused in a laboratory? And the suspicion is it actually was natural, not lab produced. What does your research tell you? What do we know? What do we think we can prove? And what are your suspicions?
So briefly, I can tell people that all my research combined with the intelligence and with my collaboration from people in China and also in this area of scientific field, I can tell people that the solid evidence already show that this virus, SARS-CoV-2, was made in China by the Chinese military scientists and also their civil partners. And this outbreak initially happened in Wuhan was not accident in the lab. It was because they want to trial it in the neighborhood and they thought they can hold it under the control. However, their ignorance of the high transmissibility of SARS-CoV-2 made it out of control. And also, what I can show people is that this is not the only thing China managed to do during decades of the bioweapon program. They had a lot of investigations focused on the novel, unrestricted bioweapon, and their final goal is to make the Marxism, Maoism overcome the whole world by 2035 or even earlier. And what we need to know is, for Americans, you should know that scientific and academic field actually is the entry of Chinese infiltration, the Chinese Communist Party's infiltration and manipulation. So they are using the massive military-civil fusion project, means there is no boundary between the military and the civilian scientists, and get inside to the scientific area in America. And
this is really a critical point, and exactly where I wanted to go with you next. We've been hearing conflicting information about the extent to which our scientific community, our National Institute of Health, for example, and other government agencies, Anthony Fauci's Allergenic and Infectious Disease Institute, for example, have actually been helping the Chinese Communist Party's military and, civilian fusion effort, as you put it, but also specifically its biological warfare program. What does your research tell you we know or we believe we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt about that help from the United States? And by the way, is it ongoing?
This is a very big question, sir. And let me briefly tell something that the scientists like Dr. Anthony Fauci, and he actually is not a scientist. He's more about a bad politician with some medical knowledge. And also Dr. Peter Daszak, who handles the EcoHealth and a lot of NIH funding. And also there are many other such scientists, including the scientists recently come from Harvard, was put sentenced by the FBI as the academic espionage for Chinese Communist Party. We know there are numerous cases happened because as a researcher come out from mainland China, I know how Chinese government made such plan. Basically, it means they are under the cover of freedom of science and then using the academic exchange as an excuse to get close to the American scientists and also deliver them the benefits, which including the money, grant, position, reputation, and other things. And also the other scientists like Dr. Fauci or Peter Daszak or these people, they just need China to give them some promise that, oh, it won't be found by U.S. Enforcement Department. That we will protect you. And then they will do everything China wants them to do because they are huge attractions. So they actually, both of them, use the weakness of the law system in America to make something in the gray area. And most importantly, because China is a legal country at this now, I mean, until this moment, they thought this is a legal regime. So China can use the national power to influence the international organizations like WHO or Convention of the Bioweapon or UN, and then using this way to do more things than some organization, non-national organizations.
Right.
However, the nature of CCP is the same as a criminal organization.
No, it is I think, a transnational criminal organization. You're absolutely right about that, which makes all the more outrageous that we are collaborating with them in any way. And I understand we are continuing to fund some of this research. And the question that I wanted to drill down with you on, and you sort of alluded to it in your answer to my first question, is this. The Chinese biological warfare program has, as I understand it, not only advancing the general effort that the Chinese are making to dominate the world, but to specifically target populations of certain countries using bioengineered viruses, targeting, specific ethnicities even, including the United States and its population. Is that something that your research has borne out? Is that something that we can say is a known fact?
I won't say that they already get successful in genetically targeting specific population because, they already, of course, they have such motives and they try to do it even in the future. However, until now, the different death rate of between the, for example, American and the Chinese are not because of the genetic difference and also modification from the SARS-CoV-2 itself. It's also combined with other very important factors, including that if you see the epidemiologic data, you will know that more diabetes patients and more obesity people in America than in China. So the SARS-CoV-2, when it attacks your kidney, when it attacks your vessel, when it makes the disorders in your body, if you have diabetes and if you have obesity, that means your recovery will be worse than the other comparably health population. And also in China, they gave treatment using drugs too. They use hydroxychloroquine and other antivirus drugs. However, in America, they are not allowed to use any useful drugs because Fauci and the CDC punish those doctors.
And insisted that we use only vaccines, essentially, and then remdesivir, for example, a deadly therapy, killing people by attacking their kidneys, for example, in hospitals. So when you look at all of this and take it in its totality, we have seen the Chinese Communist Party, as you say, actually releasing this virus intentionally, albeit initially inside their own country, inside Wuhan, I guess, but then taking steps, and this is a known fact, taking steps to ensure that it disseminated more widely around the world. It has unquestionably had the, I think, upshot of being a proof of concept for their biological weapons program, Dr. Yan. And this is what makes, again, the research that you're engaged in now here in the United States so absolutely vital, and the courage with which you speak out about both your findings and what we are learning and trying to learn more about now through your research and others. And I just want to thank you for, again, forthrightly addressing these questions on this program and others. And I hope that you will come back to us often with updates on your work in the course of 2022. It's vital that we understand what we're up against, and particularly the direct threat that the Chinese Communist Party's biological weapons program poses to this country. Thank you. We'll join you again soon, I hope.